Your brain doesn't treat conversations as finished the moment they end. Neurologically, some interactions remain active long after the words stop. They stay open. Psychologists describe this as cognitive replay, a process where the brain revisits social experiences in order to resolve uncertainty and update future predictions. And if you've ever been lying in bed hours later, suddenly remembering something you said, replaying someone's reaction, rewriting a sentence in your mind as if the moment were still happening, that isn't random. It isn't weakness. And it doesn't mean you're socially anxious. It means your brain processes human interaction differently for most people. Because for certain minds, conversations aren't just exchanges. They're unfinished patterns waiting to make sense. Because the human brain evolved to treat social information as survival information. Thousands of years ago, misunderstanding someone in your group could mean exclusion, and exclusion meant danger. So your nervous system learned something very early in human history. Unfinished social signals must be revisited, not once, but repeatedly, until the brain feels it understands what really happened. What feels like overthinking today is actually an ancient learning system still doing its job.
You leave the interaction thinking everything went fine. Nothing dramatic happened. You talked, you listened, you laughed at the right moments. On the surface, it was normal. But later, something returns. A single sentence, then another. Your brain zooms in on details you barely noticed before. A pause that felt slightly too long. A smile you suddenly reinterpret. A tone that now sounds different in memory. And slowly, the conversation changes shape inside your mind. Meanwhile, everyone else seems to move forward effortlessly. They forget the moment almost instantly, but you don't. Your mind keeps revisiting it, not because you want to, because it feels unfinished. And what makes this confusing is that nothing visibly went wrong. There was no argument, no obvious rejection, no clear mistake, which leaves your brain without closure. Humans are comfortable processing clear outcomes. Success makes sense. Failure makes sense. Ambiguity does not. So your mind keeps returning, not searching for perfection, but searching for certainty. Early reframe. Most people interpret this as overthinking, but that explanation misses what's actually happening. Your brain isn't creating problems, it's searching for clarity. Human interaction is filled with ambiguity. Words rarely carry complete meaning. Tone, timing, context, emotion all exist beneath the surface. Some brains tolerate uncertainty easily. Others keep processing until meaning feels stable. So instead of letting the interaction fade, your mind keeps working, not obsessing, processing. There's a psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik Effect. It shows that unfinished experiences remain active in memory far longer than completed ones. Your brain dislikes unresolved patterns. Think about how songs feel when they stop before the final note. Your attention immediately reacts. You feel tension without knowing why. Conversations can create the same psychological tension. When emotional meaning feels incomplete, the brain treats the interaction like unfinished music. It keeps replaying internally, trying to reach resolution. When something feels incomplete, attention naturally returns to it. Social interactions often lack clear endings. There's no notification saying, "Conversation successfully concluded." So your brain continues analyzing, reopening the memory, testing interpretations, searching for emotional closure. Each replay is an attempt to finish something internally that never felt fully resolved externally. Why social memory works differently for you. Most people store conversations as summaries, a general impression. But deeper processors store layers simultaneously. What was said, how it sounded, what might have been implied, what emotional signals appeared underneath.
Brain imaging studies suggest some individuals activate additional regions related to emotional interpretation during interaction, meaning conversation doesn't stop when it ends. Your brain continues decoding meaning in the background, like software still running after the screen turns off. And this background processing explains why insights often appear hours later. You suddenly understand what someone meant or realize what you actually felt. The conversation didn't change, your processing simply caught up. For deeper thinkers, understanding is delayed, not absent. And here's where things become important. The replay isn't really about correcting the past, it's about protecting the future. The prediction machine. Your brain's primary job is prediction. Survival has always depended on anticipating social outcomes. Acceptance meant safety. Rejection meant risk. So when an interaction contains uncertainty, your brain simulates possibilities. What did they feel? Did I miss something? How should I respond next time? Replay becomes rehearsal. Athletes rehearse movements mentally before competition. Musicians replay performances in their minds to improve timing. Your brain does something similar socially. Each replay subtly adjusts future responses. Tone becomes more precise. Awareness becomes sharper. What feels repetitive is actually refinement, not rumination, preparation. Your mind is refining future behavior using past data. Why it happens more at night. Notice when replay appears most strongly. Late at night, in the shower, during quiet walks. When external stimulation decreases, the brain activates the default mode network. This system handles reflection, memory integration, and identity processing. Without distractions, unresolved experiences resurface. Your brain finally has bandwidth to organize emotional information collected during the day. It isn't attacking you, it's sorting. During the day, your attention is directed outward. At night, attention turns inward. The brain finally reviews emotional data it postponed earlier, which is why thoughts that seemed quiet during the day suddenly become loud in silence. Nothing new was created. The processing simply became visible. The self-awareness split. People who replay conversations often experience strong self-awareness. During interaction, part of you participates. Another part observes. You notice your own tone, your timing, your reactions. This internal observer improves learning, but it also prevents immediate closure, because the observing mind keeps evaluating long after the moment ends. The empathy loop. Empathy adds another layer. Highly empathetic brains simulate other perspectives automatically, so replay becomes perspective shifting. You imagine how the other person interpreted your words. You test emotional possibilities. You mentally step into multiple viewpoints. It's a powerful cognitive ability, but it increases processing load dramatically. Your brain is calculating emotional outcomes the way a chess player calculates moves. Not one possibility, many. And while this creates fatigue, it also builds unusually accurate social intuition over time. You begin predicting reactions before they happen, often without realizing how you know. You're not just remembering one conversation, you're experiencing many versions of it simultaneously. And here's the paradox most people never realize. The same mechanism that creates mental exhaustion also creates deep social intelligence. The hidden advantage. Repeated reflection strengthens pattern recognition. Over time, people who replay interactions become highly skilled at detecting subtle dynamics. You notice emotional shifts early.
You sense tension before conflict appears. You recognize inconsistencies others overlook. Your brain learns human behavior through repetition. What feels like overthinking is often accelerated social learning. This is why many reflective people become strong listeners. They recognize patterns faster. They sense emotional shifts earlier, and others often describe them as perceptive without understanding why. The replay trained perception quietly.
Why just stop thinking fails? People often give simple advice. Just let it go. But cognition doesn't respond to force. Replay continues until the brain senses resolution. Understanding reduces urgency. Awareness signals safety. And gradually, the brain stops treating the memory as unfinished.
When replay becomes quieter, something changes once you understand the mechanism. The replay loses emotional intensity. It becomes reflection instead of criticism. Shorter, calmer, less intrusive. Because the brain no longer believes something is wrong. It recognizes the process as learning. The deeper reason. Some minds are wired for depth rather than speed. You don't skim experiences, you integrate them. You search for coherence between actions, emotions, and meaning. That requires time and mental revisiting. At some point, many people try to fight this pattern. They distract themselves. They criticize their own thinking. They try to force mental silence. But resistance often increases replay because the brain interprets resistance as evidence that something is still unresolved. Understanding, not suppression, is what finally allows closure. Identity shift. So maybe conversations stay with you not because you failed socially, but because your brain refuses superficial processing. It looks for understanding, accuracy, connection. You're not reliving moments to punish yourself. You're refining how you understand people and yourself. So the next time a conversation reappears in your mind late at night, pause before labeling it overthinking. Your brain isn't stuck, it's learning. And sometimes the minds that replay the most are simply the ones paying the closest attention to human experience. If this felt familiar, you're not alone here. And maybe you were never overthinking. Maybe you've never said this out loud before, but if part of this felt familiar, you can write it below. Sometimes realizing other people experience the same thing changes how heavy it feels. You were just processing more deeply than most people ever realize. If these kinds of ideas help you understand your own mind a little more clearly, this space was made for conversations like this. There are many others waiting here, and maybe the goal was never to stop thinking deeply. Maybe the real shift is learning to trust the process instead of fearing it. And if this video helped you put words to something difficult to explain, a small signal of support helps this message reach people who might need to hear it too. Because the same mind that replays conversations is also the mind capable of understanding people in ways that create real connection.